As the word itself indicates, orthopraxis amounts to focusing on right behavior or practice. This term has moved to the foreground of many theological discussions in recent decades, especially among those who have taken up a life orientation toward theology. You'll recall that William Ames described the marrow or core of theology as the doctrine of living to God. One aspect of living to God is our practice or behavior. It's not enough simply to think correctly about theological concepts. We must also put these concepts into practice. Here we have in mind specifically physical behaviors. For instance, in theology, we learn that we are to pray, evangelize, worship, serve each other, and give generously to the poor. But learning about these and other truths is not enough for responsible Christian theology. These truths must be translated into proper actions into orthopraxis.
The relationship between theology and orthopraxis, or the way in which that theology works itself out in our lives, is crucial, in part because it's not just about what we believe, but how what it is that we believe works itself out in our lives. You could think back to the early church, for example, about the Gnostics, and for the Gnostics it was all about just having this right belief, these secret understandings of God and His Word and who Jesus was. And it didn't matter how that worked itself out in one's life, because everything about this world, everything about this earth is accidental. There is no sense in which the behavior that relates to what one believes matters. But Christ doesn't say that at all. In His own teachings and in the writings throughout the rest of the New Testament, and indeed throughout the whole Old Testament, God is saying to His people, you are my people. And as such, because we have this relationship, you are my emissaries to the world. What it is that you do reflects your relationship with me. And so it's an inextricable bond between what we believe and how we behave, how we go about living that out, either in terms of ministry and those that are called to be leaders of a church or a ministry and how they shepherd the flock, or even those just within the church that are living out their faith in their own ministry calling that God has called them to in their work or life or school. What we believe and how that works itself out in our lives is absolutely an essential relationship.
Sadly, evangelicals face several enormous challenges in maintaining their interest in the theological goal of orthopraxis. First, people outside of the church constantly bombard us with the lie that there are no moral absolutes, that no behaviors are particularly good or bad. So many of us grow weary of standing against the tide of our cultures by insisting that there are right and wrong ways to behave. But even from within the church, some of our reticence to make orthopraxis a crucial goal stems from how we as Christians have failed in this endeavor in the past. The church has committed many sins in the name of truth. We look into the history of the church and see horrendous behaviors that were supported by serious theological reasoning. It's a sad fact of history that religious people, even sincere Christians, often use their theology to justify all kinds of terrible sins. But despite these serious difficulties, orthopraxis is still critical because our behavior still matters to God. Our good and bad works still affect our eternal rewards. The good things we do can also be God's means of ministering to our fellow Christians. We can still present a powerful witness for Christ to the unbelieving world through proper behavior. For these and other reasons, orthopraxis must be an essential goal of theology.